cheer. To climates unknown did courageously steer. Through oceans to deserts for freedom they came, and dying bequeathed us their freedom and fame. In freedom we're born, and in freedom we live. Our purses are ready, steady, friends, steady. Not as slaves, but as free men, our money.
Thank you. And welcome all to our field trip and our last meeting for 2025 of the Historical Society of Old Abington. We are here today at the All Saints Episcopal Church in Whitman. Very appropriate that would be here this year. Last year, for Rockland's 150th anniversary year, we ended at their Episcopal Church. So this is Whitman's 150th anniversary year, so here we are again at an Episcopal Church in Whitman, this time originally founded as South Abington. There is an American flag here. We'll start singing all of our services, please. Would you join me for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So yes, the Historical Society of Old Abington does 6 conversations over the course of the year. We do we call it our fall semester in October, November, December. Oftentimes the first Sunday. We changed that a little this year, so we were at the second Sunday through the fall semester. And then we resume in the spring for March, April, and May. We used to do it sooner, and days like today with too much snow, we had to postpone too many times, so we did March, April, and May. We do topics that are of interest, we hope, to local historians and local history, and this certainly is a topic that fits that very nicely. So anyway, it's an interesting program, I think. I've had a great deal of fun researching it. I've learned a lot researching it and look forward to sharing that with you. So we do have a PowerPoint presentation for that. With the year end coming up, the other thing I want to mention again, I never seem to be able to mention enough, is we also do an essay contest every year. It used to be just essay. Now we've widened the field out to essays and videos and written memories of various things, and there is a $200 prize for the winning one, as I recall. And we just run it through the course of the year, and just anything that comes in by the end of December is considered an entry for that year, and then resets in January for the next year. So we kind of let the thing go by for a couple of years and reorganized it with a new committee. Marilyn Weber is here, she's one of them. Eileen Walls is another one, and Deb Damon are three who are running that program for us. And we've gotten some good results. So we try to feature the winning one in the spring as part of our spring semester. So we're always also looking for new ideas. The Rockland year kind of wrote itself, as did the Whitman year, but now we're beyond that. But we are looking at Revolutionary War things, big anniversaries happening there, and we always have an active interest in Civil War things. And we also try to align a lot of what we do with what's going on at the Dyer Memorial Library with their exhibits. That's our base and our home. So anyway, I'm going to get technical for a little bit here. We lowered the screen so the camera could see me play. I don't know why, but we're going to put the screen back up so we can share with you images that will be the basis for our conversation today. So let me get the screen back up. Let's see. I think that's as high as it goes. Getting our image back. Good. Okay. We'll let that happen. I'm joined today by Richard Tingblad, who is the historian here and has pulled together over the years a wonderful publication, The History of All Saints Episcopal. And I have a partial copy of it that I've been working from. It's remarkably detailed, and unlike most church histories, it actually gets into a great deal of what was going on in the world, what was going on in the town, what was going on in other churches, and it's very in-depth in that sense. And to be congratulated for that, it makes it interesting reading. It's not just focused on anything else. But I want to start with the whole notion of introducing an Episcopal church here in this neighborhood in general. This is an image that I created a couple of years ago when we did a program on that old town religion, we called it. And we looked at out of the major religion groups, when did they come to the old town? And of course, we started out in 1711 with the Congregational Church establishing itself in Abington, the first building, which would have been about where Route 18 Auto Body is now. UCC, which is the fourth building of the United Church, the Congregational Church, later to become the United Church of Christ in Abington. It's the end result of that very first church forming. And what we discovered, and we talked about this somewhat in our last conversation, in terms of when things broke away and everything, actually, no, we talked about it at a concert recently. I'm forgetting when the conversation happened. We just did a concert last week and did something about the singing controversy. And as separation of church and state was kind of sorting itself out, the church found itself with two separate choirs, one appointed by the town, one appointed by the church. And at one point, they both started singing the same hymn words to two different tunes at two different tempos. And the minister's wife passed out, and they didn't sing in church for a while any longer after that. But the point being, they were still sorting out who went where and what happened. And after just a couple years afterwards, we saw the first breakaway in that South Abington, the south part of town, created their own church. And that was became the Second Congregational Church of Abington. And it wasn't that many years later that the town of South Abington was formed as a separate town. So what the churches did it led what happened politically in terms of the divisions of the town and who went where and who did what. But this was a different concept. The whole American colonies happened by separation of church from the Church of England. Wasn't this the Church of England coming back?
Yes, truly, that's a true statement for sure.
Okay.
But you know, when I was a kid, which was a couple of years back, and I've been here, I was baptized here, we tried to be more congregational.
Okay.
We tried to fit in more with the Congregationalists, and now not so much. Now I think we do a lot of things that are Roman. But yeah, it's the old Anglican communion. We still acknowledge the Archbishop of Canterbury.
As one should.
As one should.
Now, it turned out that the religion came north, basically, locally. Episcopals had established themselves in the Bridgewaters and came up to Brockton next. And ultimately, by 1910, the church was established here. 12 years later, I believe it was, that the Rockland Church was formed. Center Abington never had, and still doesn't have, an Episcopal church. So it was just those two arms that came to us. And they came to us through St. Paul's in Brockton. So this was a mission church. Is that the correct way to word it?
That's right.
Okay.
It was a mission of St. Paul's and not of the diocese for a while.
Interesting.
Finally became a mission of the diocese.
So one step at a time.
One step at a time.
And here's the irony for you. St. Paul's in Brockton's gone.
Mm-hmm.
This church still survives. The Rockland Church still survives. They're gone. There's some sort of mission or something over there, but it's not what it was. And this building shown in this postcard, I believe, is an Assembly of God church now. It's still a church on, what is it, Pleasant Street? Pleasant Street, I believe, yeah. So, and that was established in 1893. So we're looking also at a fairly short timeline here, in that St. Paul's building that church in 1893, and this church getting built in 1910. This is happening quickly. It's happening, I think, very quickly, actually, the way it happened. Now, a lot of what we know from this period comes to us from a very specific historian. And I'm going to actually get more into it in a minute and talk more about why her history is so good. But eventually, the people here forming a church here bought a lot of land. They actually had looked at another part of town, I think maybe had a house or something they bought, but it was too far away, quote unquote. So they bought this lot of land that this church is on, and there was already a building on it. This is the building that was on it. It was a machine shop. And the histories love to talk about the machine shop church, because that's how it was established. I had difficulty finding a good image of this, and hit the files at the Dyer Memorial Library and found this in a file of churches listed as unknown. And I said, oh, no, I know what that is. And so it's now labeled appropriately for what it is and what it was. So they had started, I think, meeting in public halls.
Yes.
Initially.
Yep, right in the center of
Right,
town.
and a lot of churches did that.
Jenkins Block.
Right,
Yep.
and a lot of churches did that. They started, but suddenly they had a building of their own. And they outfitted it accordingly. And again, this picture's really, really great. I also was looking at a 1890s bird's eye view of South Abington, and this little building is on it, which was kind of fun to see that. But anyway, and they outfitted, I'm sorry, the slide is horrible, but they outfitted the interior of it and used it until they could. There was a title problem, as I recall, with the church, and that held them up for years?
It held them up for years. And
Okay.
they despaired, and they almost gave up. They almost gave up twice.
Only twice?
Only twice.
Okay.
Almost gave up. But eventually, along came Reverend Legg with his marcelled hair.
Okay.
He was a playwright,
Oh my.
as well as being ordained.
Okay.
And he said, we are going to build a church.
Okay. And he didn't mean the royal we, he meant...
The royal we, this
He
little
went-
congregation
okay.
of all saints. And so we did.
Okay.
We built a church.
Absolutely. And there's the cornerstone of it. Behind this cornerstone, to this day, is sealed a written history of the church till 1910. And Richard, in his history, I think reproduced it entirely. And it was written by Mary Kaler Hutchinson. What she did that I have never seen the like of before is she talked about the players, the people who were involved in starting the church. But she didn't just list them by names and dates. She talked about their personality traits. This one was good at this. This one really wasn't so good at this. Some people like this guy, but not too many. And you don't see this. But what I love about it is this is indeed how you form a church. You need the right mix of personalities. You need the right person at the helm. And you just gave it away as to who finally came in with the right personality. It was Legg who came in and said, we're going to get this done, and did it. And so anyway, if you came up the front steps, this is just off underneath to the right-hand side. The stairs there are the entry actually to the thrift store downstairs. So I've visited that store many times. I've walked by this many times and had no idea that behind it stood documentation and about this amazing history of the church. Now, as this was happening to create this building, there was a lot going on here, and this is something that very few people also focus on, is what else was happening in town. In 1906, again, this building's 1910, and they got held up a few years, so this was in the works for a bit. But 1906 was the laying of the cornerstone for Whitman Town Hall just across the park. And around that same time, I think it was, the old high school on South Ave, again, just one other side of the park, was moved and became the Hastings School in the backyard of the church. It's now been torn down, but it was a very important building. It was one of the four buildings that was built in the 1870s-ish that led to the dissolution of the old town of Abington. And so that building was in the backyard. So a hotbed of activity here. And there was another church that was built, which we're going to come back to for a very specific reason, just up at the corner of Washington Street and West Street, the Bethany Free Baptist Church. And I'm going to leave it at that for a minute because it's an appropriate way to talk about it. But am I forgetting anything? Well, the town park as well.
And the park, yes.
So being on Park Ave, on the park, was a big deal. I mean, they had a front and center seat. I mean, I imagine Legg was really happy about that. But I mean, the property was here even before he was, if I recall. Is that right?
Yeah.
They had the property.
Yeah, they were fighting over it, but
Yeah.
it was here.
And by the way, the fight just kind of went away. They didn't have any big resolution. They just kind of, finally after so many years, they said, this is silly.
Yeah.
Build your church, right? Kind of like that?
Yeah.
So, okay. This picture came to us, I love this source, the 1912 book for the bicentennial of the town of Abington. Abington formed in 1712. This was the 1912 book. It was quite a publication. They showed like every church in town, every public building in town, in the three towns, by the way. We were still acknowledging three towns. And Whitman by then was Whitman, not South Abington. But it tells us how fresh this picture was. Understand the Cornerstone went in 1910. The book came out in time for 1912. The picture had to have been taken 1910 or 1911. So this is brand new. This is about as new as you can get. I'm actually very impressed they kept the tree in the front yard. In spite of the construction, they actually were able to keep a tree on Park Avenue.
I was there for a long time, too.
I don't remember it, but you're older than I am and you've been here longer than I have. Anyway, so here we see it in its brand new, fresh state, and we know that because we know exactly when this picture was taken, not exactly, but close to when this picture was taken when it was published. Now, look at the shape of this building, look at the size of this building, and understand this is 1910 in Whitman. And I think we're going to take a quick look, oops, we went too far, and say that in 1922 in Rockland, the Episcopals there built a church on Goddard Ave across from what is now the high school. Look familiar? About the same size, it really was. They did some very different things, and this is a detour. I'll just tell you it's a detour, but just kind of quick, what happened in Rockland? They had a similar sized building, and in the 1950s, we'll talk about the 1950s here, but they did something very radical and turned the church, which the original church is off to the left of this picture. They built a new church next to it, a very modern structure, and the old church became the church hall. And they lived like that for a while, and the roof leaked. There were other issues. People didn't recognize it as a church. It was a little bit of culture shock for Rockland. So they went and took a step back and did that with it. The church hall is still there, still seen as a part of a church hall. And the church is just reinvented. It's still there underneath all that vinyl siding and all those traditional windows. It's still there. But this is the route they took. This church didn't take that route. But it's, I think, important to understand the different ways that have happened. I want to jump back to the creation of this church because it did one of my favorite things. It borrowed stuff. Not borrowed, it just took stuff from other places. And I'm talking about windows.
Windows.
Okay. We're going to talk in reverse order about windows because we're going to talk about the historic ones first. And they were created by
John Lafarge.
John Lafarge.
There he is.
The Frenchman
Oui.
from New York City. He was born in a wealthy family. He was actually bilingual. They spoke French and English in the house. He was a contemporary of and a competitor to, okay, name just flew out of my head.
Tiffany.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Louis Comfort Tiffany,
Comfort Tiffany.
who maybe in the end was more famous. But John Lafarge did a lot of churches and a lot of stuff, and he pioneered different approaches to it. He did a couple of windows in, I believe it was a private chapel in Boston.
St. John's.
St. John's.
At the theological school.
It ended up being a theological school. Did it start that way?
I don't know how it started.
Okay. But there was a couple of memorial windows there. And in 1917, correct me if I'm wrong, suddenly they ended up here in this building. And I won't make you turn around because there they are, but they're right behind you.
There they are.
At the back of the building. So we have in this building two windows by Lafarge. Priceless, amazing, but they have been in need of maintenance over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. Well,
I figured you could.
yes, they're layered. His technique was to layer the stained glass. And so, just passed away last year, our eldest parishioner, Ernie Morgan from Abington, lived near the mustard field. He said when he was a little boy, he used to play with the crumbling bits of glass that fell out of the windows.
Oh, good.
They've been worked on more than once, but they were in really bad shape. Let's say even 20 years ago. And we tried to find ways to fund them. Yankee Magazine was one of the ones. I'm not really sure how that worked, but I know they were involved tried to get funds, collected funds, kept the funds, couldn't use them for anything else. We're hoping to get them done. And finally, Matt and Pat Delaney were instrumental in having the work finally completed and finding the stained glass experts to come and do it. And it was quite a process. They sandwiched them in plywood and successfully took them out without them going to pieces, because they certainly could have gone to pieces easily.
Yeah.
And they were gone for a while, and finally gloriously came back, transformed into great beauty.
Once again.
Once again, and there they are.
Now, fussy people tell me, because I've read about this from fussy people, that where Lafarge painted on faces, because that was the nature of how you did work like this, that these faces might not be Lafarge-like. Is that something that you've heard as well?
Yes, there's been a great debate about whether those are the original faces or not, and were they painted on. And no one really actually knows.
Okay.
There are many theories.
Okay, we'll just throw it out there that it's open to debate among the experts, but we don't really care. They look great, and they're Lafarge and they're here, so that's kind of cool. But those are the only windows that came from somewhere else. And I mentioned the Bethany Free Baptist Church. It was an unusual Baptist church. Its creation, from what I've read, there's some great articles in the newspapers about it. It was kind of an ego trip for one guy who kind of wanted to build his own church. And apparently it was called a Free Baptist Church because Baptists typically baptize by complete immersion, but not all of them. Some of them sprinkle, like other religions do for baptism. And in the Free Baptist Church, you could choose as to which you wanted. So this gentleman built up on the corner of West Street. Now, Park out here goes up to Washington, and the other side of it turns into West Street. So this church was built on the corner of Washington and West, and I think it's the one, pretty sure it's the one that is now the used car lot on the corner.
Mike's Auto Sales.
Mike, there you go. Okay, Mike's Auto Sales.
Great place.
So we found, I can't find a picture of it, but in an 1893 directory, we have this drawing of it. It happens to be one, this is from my personal collection, but we have scans of it at the Dyer and whatever. So I don't think it actually looked like this, but it probably looks something like this. This is, I think, a little fanciful and a little fancy. But I want you to notice on the left-hand side of that drawing, in that gable end, the upper arched window. Now look over my head. Apparently, at each gable end of this building are the old windows from the Bethany Free Baptist Church. Now, those are also in the 1912 picture, so we know the Lafarge windows, which came in a little later, the Bethany windows were here from day one. They were part of the plan. Now, having read again about Bethany, it didn't last very long as a church. It became a Grange Hall. It became a cinema. It became a roller rink. And finally, it was torn down to make a filling station. And we see the remains of that filling station still there today. But it's good to know that some of its parts and pieces, even in 1910, got recycled. And they got recycled into this building. And frankly, they're quite magnificent windows. And they, I'm assuming if they didn't get them for free, they got them for damn near free. So that's nice. And it's nice to see them so well represented here and so well used here. So, and I don't think they've taken quite as much maintenance.
A little, but not as much as Lafarge.
Lafarge,
yes.
Okay. Something about driving that Rolls just requires additional work. So, but there have been other things over the course of the years that have impacted the life of the church. I'm going to jump now to the 1950s, getting to be our time, I think, here at this point.
Your time.
A little bit.
I'm slightly anti-date.
Okay, that's fine. We'll give you that one. After World War II, most churches in this area prepared for or reacted to the return of GIs and service people from World War II, coming and settling into communities on the South Shore. And they all felt a need, imagined or otherwise, to expand with classrooms, to expand with meeting spaces. And I can point to almost every church in this area that did it, that they added a hall, that they added some sort of social space. And this church was not immune to that. And in 1953, they did a fundraising campaign to add on what became known as Madison Hall?
Madison
Do
Hall.
I have that? M-A-T-T.
M-A-T-T-E-S-O-N. yeah.
Okay. To the back of the church. It's the only land they had left. So they went out to the back to do that. This is a drawing from the fundraising brochure to do this for our church, and underneath it there's a postscript for our children. They were selling it hard. And I think generally it's what they built, you know, for the most part. I mean, I've seen writing saying it wasn't as big as this, but my sense is in terms of square footage, I think it was.
Just about, I guess, yeah.
What they didn't do is the turret, but we'll see that they did put something up there. The base of the turret got built, and it is the minister's office, perhaps, is that right? Accessible by a set of stairs out in Madison Hall.
Right.
Okay. So they did some of it, and did, you know, met the need. They certainly did. They were also guilty of what a lot of people did back in the 50s. They didn't think ahead. Well, let me just say, handicapped people stayed home. They did. They did. They were expected to stay home. And as we started opening up buildings for public consumption for people who had mobility issues and people who were in wheelchairs and whatever and didn't feel they should stay home anymore, we put in ramps, we put in lifts, we put in elevators, we did all sorts of things. But they didn't pay attention there to floor levels. And it haunts churches and public schools to this day. I remember as a student at Abington High School, the school was a split level. The auditorium was at one height with a cafeteria below it. The classroom wings were another height, a little higher. The gymnasium was higher than that. The building went up and downhill, which I actually had the job to make it handicapped accessible, and it was amazing to do that before it was torn down to be replaced. But this building has incorporated a lift. When did that go in? I don't find that in my history.
I could have looked it up. It's not in my head,
Okay.
but it's in the book.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 20 or 25 years.
It's been around for a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, with a direct access to the outside.
It's an antique.
Okay.
They have trouble getting parts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, any mechanical system. But the other thing I wanted to note is, like most churches like this, there are key players who sometimes because they can, sometimes because they feel they need to contribute time, talents, tithing, whatever to make things happen. And one of my former high school classmates, as I was doing my research, I kept coming across her family name here. Julie Robbins Lyle was in high school with me. She and the family lived on Colonel Hunt Drive in Abington. But the organ was donated by her family, by her parents. And I mentioned I was doing this program today, and she said, oh, well, there are windows there donated in memory of both of my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents, both the Coxes and the, in fact, I see right over here, Cox name there, and somewhere is Robbins right next to it, is that? Okay. So we're looking at, you know, Abington residents donating windows in memory of families. A different legacy. I don't think there are any of the Robbins families still in the area. Julie's been out in Texas and Ohio, if I remember correctly. And I think there's a brother, perhaps.
When I was at Trinity Rockland, there was a Robbins family.
I think it was a different Robbins family.
Different one?
Yeah,
The
it was
name?
definitely a Robbins. Don Robbins was
Yeah.
it was in Rockland. I don't think it was a relative to Wynn. But anyway, and so that, you know, supports the church through different times and keeps it going. The church still seems very active. You have how many services here?
2.
That's getting to be rare. And so when are they and what are they and how are they different?
8 and 10, 8 o'clock, no music.
Well, we can't do that.
I know, and 10 o'clock is with the organ and the guitar and
Oh,
the
my.
keyboard and other fun things.
Okay,
yeah.
you kept up.
Oh yeah, we've kept up. Yeah. we
What
have
are the other
excellent
regular
organs.
activities that happen here? What other groups should we know about that keep the place going?
Well, to keep the place going, we host Sunday nights, adult children of alcoholics meet in the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday nights it's AA. Wednesday nights it's Al-Anon. We have Bible study groups that are on Zoom
Okay.
and vary with the seasons.
Okay.
Right now we're doing an Advent one on Tuesday nights. And of course the big deal is the thrift shop, which has over the years grown and taken over what used to be the Sunday school, because now we only have 2 children who are age 3 and they're a
Oh.
little young for Sunday school.
Okay.
So the thrift shop owns everything down below.
The whole
and
level below us.
Yes, it does marvelously, and it's very well organized. And
very little is priced.
oh yeah, Leslie Bresnahan, who's in charge, she doesn't put price tags. You
No.
go in, what do you want for this? Oh, give me $1. Oh, give me 50 cents. And yet they take in hundreds and hundreds, and it's a vital support of the church now.
Right.
And then up front we have the blessing box, which is Reverend Dr. Michelle Matot, who is our rector, who came to us 5 years ago with her wife, Marguerite. Marguerite is the tech person. And Reverend Michelle said, we're going to have a blessing box. What is a blessing box? Well, it's like those little free libraries in the little box on the side of the road where they give away books. We don't give away books. We give away food. And we give away at
Nice.
least a ton of food every year,
Wow.
which is funded by the church and partly by the thrift shop. And neighbors come and put things in.
That's nice.
You want food, you just come and get it, no questions asked.
Okay. Is there a separate food drive throughout town, or are you guys it?
Well, there is a
Food
food
pantry,
bank.
I guess
The
I'm-
town has a food pantry as
Okay.
well, yeah.
Okay.
But you have to fill out forms and sign up for that. That was what Reverend told us. And this is free. No, we don't ask. We
If
don't
you-
ask who
if you
you
need
are
it,
or
it's
what your
there.
problem is. You're hungry, take food.
If you needed to say, that's very
Yeah.
nice. Okay. It is a twist on a library or other
Yeah.
things. And did I also see some sort of prayer thing out front as well?
Yeah, that's the
Ribbons or
prayer wall.
Prayer
So
wall.
maybe it's something like the Buddhists, and you write your
That's fine.
prayer on this thing and tie it on, and it waves in the wind, and God reads it. I guess.
Sure she does.
Sure. And we have a lot of fundraisers.
That's great.
We have craft shows, and we just had the big cookie festival, which when you go in the hall, you'll see the decorations are still there. And we have a plant sale, and we have the calendars, which fund the blessing box, where you can win a prize every day in November. And what else have we do? We've done paint nights, where you come and paint it's kind of like paint by numbers, but a little fancier than that. So we try to keep going,
Excellent.
and we have the same worries that we did in 1910. But as in 1910, we don't give up. We keep trying.
There you go. There you go. In the spirit of lead.
Yep.
And so what haven't we covered? I'm going to ask them if they have any questions, but I'll start with you. What haven't we covered? We've really covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
How we got here and
Yep.
a few steps along the way and the changes to the physical plant
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But
Well, we could say that if you can see around the corner to the yellow windows, that they were all yellow for many years, until people who had money decided that they would give a window in memory of their departed. And so now we have all these colorful windows.
so you didn't start with stained glass.
No, we
Well,
didn't say
by
except for what was given
1917,
to us.
you had the
Yeah.
Lafarges, yeah. And of course the ones from Bethany Free
Yep.
up in the Gables. So It makes it very homey, very warm.
It does.
It's a nice scale.
The name All Saints means, so we have pictures of, not all the saints, of course, but as many as we could fit.
Now, I understood the name All Saints was chosen because the first service ever was near All Saints' Day.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
And that was maybe up in the Jenkins block?
That was in the Jenkins block,
Okay.
right.
Okay, good. So, an interesting way to choose a name, but why not?
Why not?
Exactly. You know, it was
Had to
very,
pick something.
well, very practically Yankee.
Yes,
you
yeah, it really
know?
was, yeah.
What does the calendar say it is? Oh, we'll choose that
We'll
name.
do All Saints, yeah.
So it's kind of great.
Not that unusual for Episcopal churches to select a name.
Yeah,
Often done that way.
by simply what they were closest to on the calendar.
Not always, but in a.
So it could be Easter Orthodox something. I mean, it's
Well, no, but I mean, they would look at the date they had their first worship
Okay.
service, and that would generate the name for the
Okay.
congregation.
Bob Outman coming as a minister. He should know that. I believe him.
He is a member of the congregation. He's a retired Episcopal priest, but he does do services here when we are privileged to have him do that.
Aha. He knows a lot of stuff. So.
Oh boy, he's into a lot of stuff.
I know. So we occasionally listen to him. Anyway, well, okay. Any questions from the audience? Or have we just been all-knowing and all-telling? Yes, Marilyn?
Do you communicate with other Episcopal churches in the area, like say Weymouth and wherever else, Rockland and wherever?
The question is about
Yeah.
communication between Episcopal churches,
In-
particularly on the South Shore.
There's of course, there's the diocese itself, but then there are smaller things which are now called, what do they call?
Deaneries.
Deaneries. Well, they changed the name at least twice since I've been around, so yes.
Deaneries?
Now it's known as deaneries.
DEAN?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so there is some communication there.
Okay.
Not really much, though. I don't think there's really much communication.
And how does one find a minister nowadays? Is
You
there
have to
assistance
form
in that?
a glorious thing called a search committee.
Well, everyone needs those.
Yeah, you do, and you hope for responses to your ad, shall we say, and you go through a lot of discernment and fill out surveys in the congregation as to whom you're looking for or what sort of a person you're looking for, and you pray a lot.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. We hope we don't have to do it anytime soon.
There you go. No, because I mean, having consistency at the helm, so to speak,
Yes.
is a good message to send to the community. And we, apparently, the church knew that in 1910.
Yes.
And it's a lesson that still carries on today.
We have had 13 rectors, one which was a married couple. So we had two of them at the same time. Reverend
Yeah.
Michelle is the lucky 13, and 8 interims in between that.
Okay. Okay. And is that the frame picture you have behind you? by chance?
the-
Okay.
We used to have bigger ones, but they're out having something done to them.
Okay.
That's the Rogues Gallery there.
Okay. Well, we'll have it for the camera later
We
then,
will.
I'm sure.
That's Reverend Longmire was the one that baptized me.
Okay.
So I go back a fair amount.
Or an unfair amount, as the case may be.
Yes,
but-
either way.
Anyway. Any other questions before we release you to Madison Hall for refreshments? And I've been busy baking cookies, by the way, so please eat them.
One more. I was brought up at St. Bridget's Church in Abington Catholic Church, but I've been to Episcopalian churches and seen the services. Are they pretty consistent from year to year and place to place, or have they
Yes.
changed?
Oh, yeah. Book of Common Prayer. We go by the Book of Common Prayer. But as a Roman Catholic, I know when I attend masses, which I do for occasionally because somebody died usually, or maybe get married if that would be nice.
There you go, nice.
Yeah, but the words it's essentially the same words. Yeah.
Well, the Catholic changed to do, and the power and the glory, yeah. I mean, they went so far as to append to their version of the Our Father
Yeah.
to bring it more in line with some of the other Christian churches.
But I had an incident a number of years ago when the Vatican was having a major service, it was a funeral, I think, for one of the popes, outdoors in front of St. Peter's.
Yeah.
and it was on television. And one of their commentators is giving the commentary, because the whole service is done in Italian and Latin. But their services are so much like our services that even though I don't speak a word of either Latin or Italian, I knew exactly what
was going on.
And I was correcting the mistakes that the commentators were making. I kept bugging my wife. Said, that's not right. That's not what they're doing right now. Because the services are virtually identical.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely. Even after Vatican II.
Yeah. Well, because now they're in English then.
Exactly.
They're some more together.
Except for some turnabout churches still do them in Latin. I
Well,
have a friend who attends one in Washington State. It's the old Latin Mass, and it's the only one he wants to go to. And I don't know why it's holier in Latin than it is in English, but whatever.
tradition.
Tradition is indeed tradition.
Well, some of us find change to be disturbing.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
My job is changed, by the way.
I see.
Architecting, that's what we do, we change. But that's okay. Anyway, this has been delightful. Thank you. He has been a wealth of information. He handed me a copy, a slightly reduced copy. And for the past week, I've had the full copy and the CD. I had to remember what computer I had that would still read a CD, but I had one. So my home in Martha's Vineyard. So I actually couldn't load that. We need to put it on a thumb drive. So
It's on the thumb drive
okay,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
And I've kept every year since. It's so big now
Yeah.
that now I just write history of 2024, 2025. They're separate documents.
Okay.
Someday, maybe I'll publish another book.
When you retire.
I'm already
Shh,
retired.
quiet.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. We are done with this presentation today, and Historical Society of Old Abington, and I'll also speak for the Dyer Memorial Trustees. Wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We're excited about the upcoming year. A lot of changes at the Dyer, a lot of challenges at the Dyer lately. We had a roof leak, which was difficult. We just had a second floor plumbing leak about a week ago, which has been challenging. But that's okay. We soldier on through those and do new programs and do new exhibits and have a very good crew who volunteer and get stuff done. So it's a very welcoming place to visit. We had I'll call it a crisis a few years ago when management was less open through their on-site staffing. But that's changed. And if you ever had a less than welcoming experience at the Dyer, go back. Please go back. It's very different from what it was, and you'll be welcomed and you'll feel excited about what's going on there. So I'm personally excited having the Historical Society working with the crew we are now. So it's a good place to be. I have really no idea what we're doing for programs in 2026. Got a couple months to figure it out. I figure one of them will be, again, having to do with a writing contest. I don't know if we have any submissions yet. If you have working on one, get it in. And hopefully do that. And there's a few things coming up I know we want to talk about. But we do welcome your ideas. So I'll say that to people on cable. I'll say that to people here. We just did one on baseball, but it was someone who wanted to do a program about baseball in the old town. It was great. He brought in Cracker Jacks. So very well received, very well researched, very well done. We did one on Abington Fire Department, the history thereof, because Selectman Kevin Donovan, it's one of his favorite topics, and Abington just broke ground this past fall on their brand new fire station. So very appropriate, timely topics, and we can be flexible about these things. So if there's something in your craw that you think we should explore and something you want to explore with us, by all means, we're certainly open to it. So, and what's the best way to get to Madison Hall here? Is it down?
Just straight out.
I'm sorry.
Down those little stairs and
We
down
do have 3 steps. I'm sorry.
We do have 3 steps.
Okay.
You can ride in the elevator, but then you have to go up steps. So.
Or around the ramp in the back.
Around the ramp.
It's this. If you can do the 3 steps, you're good.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you. Thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you in the spring. And
Thank you, Doug, for this, and thank you all members of the HSOA.